And so we've added a lab to that so that we can do our urine samples and pregnancy testings right there. Then upstairs, we completely demolished. I felt like I was on HGTV. Took that tub out. That's cast iron, and we've got dust all over the place. But there we are going to be putting in sheetrock along with a baby changing station, so that when with the counseling rooms upstairs, that they have a place to take their babies.
Hello and welcome to the Inspired Woman Podcast. I'm Marcy Narum. This podcast is dedicated to impacting a multitude of women with its mission to celebrate, encourage, empower, educate, entertain, and connect women. I am so happy to introduce Val Junt from Bismarck. Welcome to Inspired Woman Podcast.
Thank you, Marcy.
Yeah, I'm happy that you are here today to just want to get to know you. And so tell us who you are and all the wonderful things that you've done in your life.
Oh, Marcy, thank you. Thank you first for having me today.
Of course.
You're an inspired woman in my life. I just want to start with that.
Oh, wow.
And I am a native of Bismarck, North Dakota, proud native, and a graduate of St. Mary's Central High School. I fell in love and met my soulmate here in a bar, no less, about 37 years ago. And I'm happily married to Wayne Junt, who is a Minot native. We have 2 daughters. Our oldest daughter is Katie. She lives in Minneapolis, and they have 5 children. And our youngest daughter, Anne, is married to Ben, and she's the St. Mary's Central High School band director, and an alumni from there too. So it's neat that we have those roots that are coming back to us. And her husband, Ben, teaches grades 7 and 8, so they kind of co-teach together. I started my career, I guess you would call it, on May Day 1984. Just by the grace of God, I landed in a job with state government as the unclaimed property administrator. And it sounded like it was really interesting in that you help people find their money that they didn't know they had. Mm-hmm. And what started as a very arcane program where we had 3x5 cards and paper reports that came in, I've lived through for 35 plus years. And in that role have been very, very blessed in being a regulator and then being recruited to be the executive director to the National Association of Unclaimed Property Administrators back in 1996. And I served in that role for almost 5 years. And then we grew so exponentially that I was asked to move to Louisville, Kentucky, and I'm North Dakota, and I wasn't going anywhere. So I wasn't exactly sure what path God had me on at that particular point, but I knew I wasn't leaving North Dakota. And I was recruited by a number of public accounting firms. PricewaterhouseCoopers, at that time it was Arthur Andersen, and Deloitte & Touche were 3 of them. And I ended up going to work for Deloitte & Touche as their National Director of State Relations and Government Affairs. And they would let me work from home. And that was very unheard of back then. So since 2000, I've been on the consulting side and have worked for some of the largest companies in the world. Got a chance to lead my own practice of 35 professionals throughout the country and working for some very highly pronounced name brand companies to help them make sure that they're in compliance with the unclaimed property program. I decided in 2015 that being on a plane every week and where security knows me better than my husband was something that I needed to just move away from. So I decided to take a leap of faith, and I still do some unclaimed property consulting for some very large firms and some law firms in particular. But I just said, I've been so blessed in my life that I just wanted God to put me in a place where he could use my skills if they were there, and in a mission that I might be really passionate about. And so last fall, I decided that I would accept a position, and it was part-time, as an event planner and fundraiser development communications director for First Choice Women's Care Center. And so I'm doing that right now.
Mm-hmm. Very nice summary. And I'm picking up little things along the way that I want to talk to you just a little bit about. So your family, like Anne, your daughter Anne, is an Inspired Woman alumni. So we got to feature her in an article in 2016 or 2017 when she came back.
Correct.
And began teaching at St. Mary's High School. So
first in the Bismarck Mandan community, high school female band director.
That's it.
And she was a recipient. There were others too that year because they had such a talented class of the John Philip Sousa Award. And so, little history there. When Mr. Schmidt started as the band director at St. Mary's, I was still a student there. And my brother Bruce was a very, I would just say, just an incredibly talented percussionist. And Bruce was the very first recipient of Mr. Schmidt's Louis Armstrong Award. So our roots with Mr. Schmidt and St. Mary's, especially in the music program, go way back. And now to have our daughter actually carrying on his legacy, and bringing all of her experience that she's gained through graduate school. She got her master's last year. She and Ben both did through the American Band College. And bringing that back to St. Mary's has just been so exciting for Wayne and I. Wayne's a professional school counselor. He's been in the Bismarck School District for over 30 years, and he retired through BPS last May, and he joined the St. Mary's Group 2. He is their first middle school counselor, grades 6 through 8. They'd not had one. And so he's there from his mission perspective, helping them to build a program. And so we're both kind of transitioning our careers, yet bringing our experiences to mission work.
Absolutely. All very life-centered.
We think so.
Yeah,
Wayne was ordained a
absolutely.
deacon for the Diocese of Bismarck in 1997. Our girls were quite young, so he was the youngest deacon at the time, and he currently serves as well at St. Anne's.
Okay. If we have time, I want to come back to, you mentioned seeing the TSA people more than you saw Wayne while you were traveling. And I know why you decided to make the decision in 2015 that traveling you were over it because of your story and how much you love your husband. So we can, if we have time, hopefully we have time to talk about that.
Oh, I love
if you
to
don't
talk
mind.
about that. I could talk about him all day.
Okay. But so your mission work and what you're doing now with First Choice Women's Care Center, it's a lot. Oh my goodness. Development director, fundraiser, event planner, you're doing a lot. Your heart is really in this, Val.
It is. I've been so blessed, and I've known women, some of them were my friends, who suffered greatly from a decision that they made in a crisis situation. And so part of what drew me to our mission locally here is we are the only ones who do what we do. And that's we welcome that woman in our doors and just love them for where they are, regardless of their economic background or whatever. And in the event that they are expecting a baby, giving them whatever counseling classes that they need, relationships with others in their situation, to just give them the courage to make the right decisions.
So Women's Care Center is, how do you describe it?
I would say that Women's Care Center, we just aligned with the National Women's Care Center, which is based out of South Bend, Indiana. And as a result of that, we have been so grateful to have the resources and the support that they provide to us, just as a member of their association. So they started in 1984 with Dr. Janet Smith out of South Bend, Indiana. She is a graduate of Notre Dame, and set up the first care center close to the university. And as a result of our alignment with them, they provide all of our nurses with training and classes and courses and all of the materials that we need in order to do our work, which has just been phenomenal. They also were nationally recognized just at the end of April with a very highly prestigious award, the Evangelium Vitae Award, which was created by Pope John Paul II. And in Latin, it means Gospel of Life. So they're the 9th recipient of this very, very prestigious award that is only given to those who are passionate about pro-life issues.
So you mentioned a woman who comes, she might be pregnant, any age.
Any age and stage, might even have multiple children.
Right. Any financial background, it doesn't matter. When she comes to the Women's Care Center, and we should say there's one in Fargo, Devil's Lake, and Bismarck.
Yep.
Okay, so you're working for the Bismarck Women's Care Center and really getting it more established and it growing. with a new location as well. What can she expect to happen? She walks in the door. She's probably scared, terrified even.
Correct. And they oftentimes come to us through other referrals, through their friends, family members, or they've heard it on the streets, wherever. And currently we are located up by BSC on College Drive, and it's in a more of a clinical office building. And we've been known in our community as First Choice Clinic. And really, the two services that we provide that could maybe be phrased into that area would be pregnancy testing to determine a true, whether or not there is a positive pregnancy. And, excuse me, we also have the ability to do ultrasounds up to the first trimester. Our staff consists of 3 RNs and a receptionist who also serves as a part-time counselor. They are heavily trained, especially through Women's Care Center, in counseling the woman for where she is as an individual. And so at the end of the day, most of them don't have good friends or they don't have good relationships and good support. We want to be there for them. So no one stays at our facility overnight. We don't do any other like testing or medical. There are professionals who do that, and we have fantastic resources that we can refer them to. And so we serve as kind of the conduit, just to be there for them, to help them make the directions that they've chosen on their own with the support that we can provide.
So you're not, and you can help them see the baby, first of all.
Yes, we can, up through the first trimester.
Yeah,
Yes,
and which at times, I've heard stories that it has changed a woman's mind.
many of them. Right now, we have 150 women who are coming to our center who have chosen life and then created relationships with others in their situation who are excited about that. And whether they choose to give that baby up for adoption, we can help them through social services here in making those connections. Again, we kind of serve as that conduit. And if, some of them have come to us in just need of other counseling services or food or whatever, we don't provide those, but we can direct them where they can get those kinds of things. Though the other thing that we do that's really exciting and that I really am passionate about, I was passionate about their whole structure, format, and mission, is that we give our women hand up, not hand out necessarily. We give them the courage that they know they can do this on their own. So for every visit that they come into our center to get, wellness testing, attend classes, courses, counseling, they earn points, and we call them coupons. And throughout the community, we've been promoting our largest baby shower in January, and so many of the churches, Cashwise and St. Alexis, also sponsored us in donating diapers and onesies and Target and Walmart gift cards so that they can earn for themselves and have that self-confidence and security of, I want to earn that crib or I want to earn that stroller. And so they are doing that on their own. And the excitement that they have when they get to that point is amazing.
Yeah.
So we have almost a storage shed full of items that they can earn. And so again, we don't turn people away because they haven't earned it on certain things if there's a need, especially like blankets during the winter. When they came to us, if they needed blankets, we gave them a blanket. But they're new items. We don't take used because these women have earned something and they deserve something new.
And how many women are we talking about that can be served or have been served through the First Choice Clinic?
Oh
Women's
gosh!
Care
And
Center?
just in the last year, our numbers have increased by almost 40%. And a
Wow.
lot of that's word of mouth. And we're tucked in, as I mentioned, in this office building where there's a lot of other dentists and other clinics and things, and no signage at all. And so with that, our numbers, we've grown to almost, anywhere from 8 to 10 visits a day, but that doesn't include the number who come to our classes and take our courses. So that's going to continue to grow. Almost 800 women served. I show about 770 last year alone. But again, right now that are having babies that we know that keep coming back, we're at over 150. In 2018, we show 338 babies saved. That's in our 3 facilities. That includes Fargo. And Fargo's been around since, this is our 35th year. So we're celebrating 35 years in North Dakota, where the state of North Dakota has supported our mission. And then Bismarck, we opened our center about not quite 10 years ago.
Babies saved.
Babies saved.
And that means?
by the grace of God. Look at how many more classrooms we're going to fill
Yeah.
with little hearts and little minds and little Einsteins.
But they might have been considering abortion.
And I'm sure they do, and oftentimes. And as I mentioned earlier, in my younger years, just having friends who either went through an abortion and or considered it strongly, and the suffering that they went through emotionally and physically in those situations were devastating. And still, there are scars to this day in a few of my contacts. The interesting thing too that I've noticed is there are some women in the community that I've either never met or have known for a long time that now know that I'm with Women's Care Center and have come to me asking if they can have coffee with me, have told me their stories, have shared with me their griefs and either their blessings or their curses as a result of that, and have wanted to be a part of this and have wanted to volunteer in whatever way they can. My hairdresser's been fantastic. As soon as she found out that I was with First Choice Women's Care Center, she's like telling all of her clients, they're coming out of the blue. Hey, Jennifer told me about this and I would love to help. I have this experience or that experience. Jennifer wanted to donate a couple of haircuts or makeovers, so that these women who come to us feel like they are beautiful, because they are. And so we're going to do a little beauty boutique as soon as I come up for air and get that going too.
Come up for air because you have been busy getting a new location ready for these women.
Yes, we have. Since early January. One of the things, I'm one of those leaders who just says, what do you need? How do you want to get it there? And what can I do to help? And one of the things that they asked me to do when I first started was the largest baby shower. We need to grow that mission so that people know who we are and what we're trying to collect donations for. So the success of that was fantastic this year in the community, and 35 drop-offs from around the surrounding communities participated, which has been phenomenal. And then they also asked about a board, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, because Bismarck's representation here is important as well, just so that they have local representation beyond the governing board that we have in Fargo. And they also said, it would really be great if we could move into a facility where women could find us. We had more visibility, more space. And through the grace of God, I was driving down 4th Street on my way to the post office one day and saw this 2-story house for sale right next to the historic governor's mansion. And the wheels started to turn. And through many, many, many generous hearts, and I truly believe this is God's will. This is going to become reality for our community very, very soon.
Yes, and I've been inside. It's very warm, very welcoming, and it's still under remodel. So when it's finished, I can only imagine how good it will feel to walk into. When it is a scared woman, not like, what do I do now?
Or walking into a public office building where they're going down the hall trying to find the right space and not to be seen by somebody else possibly.
Right.
Or, finding parking or however that might be. This will be a home. It has 9-foot ceilings. The home, this home just draws to me personally too, in that it was a part of a community that I grew up in the same neighborhood. I grew up over on A Street near Bismarck High. So this is part of what my growing up neighborhood as well. And when you walk in and there's crown molding on the top and there's beautiful staircase that goes up to 5 rooms. 4 of them are nice size 13 by 13 with all hardwood floors. And off of the master bedroom is a huge sunroom with nothing but lights, all brand new windows, 30 windows in this house. And so to think that they'll be able to come in and be able to just be met with so much love from our great staff. Our staff are some of the best in the nation. Their hearts are to this mission, and they're just passionate about making sure that they're not looking at a clock. When a woman comes in, if she needs 2-3 hours just to cry or just to hold somebody's hand that's going to care about her, our staff are there for her.
Met with love and no judgment, I would
None.
imagine, or shame.
Exactly.
What heavy burdens those are.
Exactly.
So when can we expect to see that open?
So our new location is going to be at 614 North 4th Street, just as I mentioned, north of the Governor's Mansion. And what we're remodeling now is we are repurposing the kitchen so that we can meet the city codes for ADA requirements with a handicap bathroom. And so we've added a lab to that so that we can do our urine samples and pregnancy testings right there. Then upstairs, we completely demolished. I felt like I was on HGTV. Took that tub out. That's cast iron, and we've got dust all over the place. But there we are going to be putting in sheetrock along with a baby changing station so that when with the counseling rooms upstairs, that they have a place to take their babies. And I just need to spend 2 minutes just to say that this community has been so incredibly generous. The contractors and professionals that we have reached out to, and I have reached out to, have stopped the trains on all of their other prior commitments once they've heard about what this mission is and what we are doing, to donate their time, their labor, a lot of their materials, just to make this a reality for Bismarck. And like I said, from last fall, as you all know, our community is growing and people want remodeling and brand new buildings and things like that. They could have made money and finished on those, and they're still doing that. But they have stopped the trains to help us meet our goal. Women's Care Center is coming with a semi full of furniture, desks, computers, all of that on the first week of June. That's week after next. They are contributing over $30,000 worth of items for our facility locally.
Wow.
And so I'm trying to get as much done as we can with all the painting and all the remodel. We won't be completely done, but our goal is to open our doors no later than August 1st. We're hoping before then. We'll think in
Yes.
sometime in July.
Right. And all those donations and the contractor's time and materials. As a development director, you must be like, thank goodness that's how many thousands of dollars you don't have to
Thousands.
be asking for.
Thousands of
What a
dollars.
gift.
Exactly. And I'm going to
Relief.
be naming them all off when time permits because they are guardian angels. And I just could not do it without them. And yesterday, it's so great because we were praying that the electrician inspector would come so we could start to sheetrock. We were saying a prayer to St. Rita. I mean, it was St. Rita, for those of you who aren't Catholic, is the patron saint of impossible things. And boy, she came through within an hour. We had our pyramids pulled, and we had the inspector knocking at the door. Didn't even know who it was. It was great.
Well, I'm a Lutheran. I might have to get to know St. Rita.
I will teach you St. Rita.
What else do we need to know about the Women's Care Center and maybe how people can get involved or help, or what are your needs?
The needs are great in that if you have any professional experience as a nurse or in any profession, because some of the classes that we offer these women, we do classes on a weekly basis, is even like financial literacy or, maybe healthy cooking and healthy classes, or, we do baby care and we do different stages of what to expect as a mother if they choose to, raise that baby. And if they want to go off and get their degrees, we coordinate them with educational services and social services so that, again, we don't do all of those things, but we serve as their beaming light. And so where I really, really, really need help, obviously, is we just made a pretty substantial commitment to purchase this property and with the upgrades needed in order to be able to meet city code. The ramp and the parking lot that we had to put in are the two very largest. I mean, together those alone are almost $70,000. And though we've never had a woman come to us who is handicapped in need, we still need to meet those requirements, which we're
Sure.
happy to do. And you know what? That ramp is going to serve as a running up the strollers.
Right,
So
exactly.
we're going to make good use out of that ramp.
And the little ones that will love running up and down and
Absolutely. So if you are good at fundraising and helping me raise money, I need your help on that. And we'll be doing some open houses. I'll be having a Facebook page that talks about come and see the home because like you said, and thank you for serving because we really appreciate how busy you are and that this wasn't an easy task for you to take on in addition to everything that you're doing in helping us. But Marcy came over to take a look at the construction and got a chance to walk upstairs and check it out. And you're going to be part of our Bismarck representation and board. So thank you for that.
yeah, I'm honored to serve, and it's a privilege. And for me personally, being adopted is, it kind of is where my interest and my passion lies for this sort of mission. I imagine when I talk about that woman going to the door, I picture my birth mother
There
at
you go.
16 and what it must have been like for her. So, and she didn't have this opportunity. So,
And you're right, Marcy. Many of them don't. And in my generation either, there wasn't a facility like this to go to. So most of those, my friends or girls, young women who found themselves in an unexpected or unplanned pregnancy felt like they had no other choice, or they were shamed, or their parents kicked them out of the house, or they weren't even allowed in school back in, years ago because they said it was a liability. And so to give that woman the courage to make her own choice, and that choice should, and we pray that it is, to give that baby life, you wouldn't be sitting here with me right now if your mother wouldn't have had that courage.
Yeah.
And we're grateful for that.
I am too.
I am too.
So let's talk about, can we talk about Wayne, or is there anything else?
No, let's talk about him.
Talk about Wayne, because you've got such a great story. And how the two of you ended up having your own family, but how you met and you just celebrated
37 years from the night that we met. And so this does have a tie to my mission. I was actually, so I was one of those who didn't get a chance to go to college right out of high school. So our parents were of the fact that we put you through Catholic school, and unless you're going to be a doctor or a nurse, we can't invest in college because that's a waste of money. We didn't need it, you don't need it. And that was their attitude back there, which is unfortunate, but that was the case. So I was working 2 and 3 jobs, and at the time I was also like a big sister, and I had a friend who found herself in an unexpected pregnancy. And she was absolutely passionately in love with her boyfriend, and he was trying to encourage her to have an abortion because they were too young and didn't want to have to, get married and raise a family. Anyway, the long and the short of it was, without telling me, she actually did go through the procedure. At that time, it was in South Dakota, and she almost died. And when she came back and told me, because she knew I was very pro-life and that I was going to support her and love her regardless of what had happened, she was in a very, very dangerous place. At one point, she thought she would commit suicide. It was terrible. So every day I'm just calling her and checking on her, and I won't use her name. And one night she was just so down, and I said, you know what? We got to go out. We are going out, and we are not going to think about this anymore. And so I took her to a place called the Front Page, which was down on Main Street at the time, and we had a lot of live bands. And we walked in, and we no more than ordered a drink. And here he walks in with this other girl on his arm. Oh. And she just melted. She lost it. And so I said, we're getting out of here. We don't need this. We're going to the next place. So we went to a place called Crumley's, and they had a bluegrass band, and everything was dark. And she's crying, and I'm like, you get rid of him. He was a jerk, blah, blah, blah.
You're such a good friend.
I was a good friend.
I'm going to hang out with you.
You've got this, girl. And so these 2 guys, after the band took a break, came waltzing across the floor and asked us to dance. And I said, no, thank you. And she said, yes, I'm going to go. Yep, I'm going to do this. And so Connie said, I'm going to make this happen. And so even though she was crying, she wiped off her tears, and she started dancing. And I started looking over at her to make sure she's okay. And all of a sudden, the next thing I know, the guy she was dancing with just kind of waltzes over and starts dancing with me. And he had red hair and this red beard, and he just had this beautiful voice. And he was just like, hi, how are you? And he just started, and we ended up dancing the rest of the night. I didn't think I'd ever see him again. I found out later that he told his friend Marv, who was dancing with Connie, Marv, I'm going to marry that girl someday. And I never thought I'd ever see him again. Well, when I was going out to a bar back then, I never told anybody my name. I used my name, which was my horse's name, which was Ginger. And I was working at vocational education at the time.
Nolan likes that too.
I thought I'd never, ever see the guy again, right? I mean, I met him at a bar. He's got red hair. It's Jack Daniels night. This is not good. I also found out that he was the manager of the waterbed store here. Not good. And so I'm at work the next day, and these flowers just arrived from nowhere because you deserve it, Wayne. And then the phone number. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? I can't call him. He's going to ask me out. I can't date this guy I just met in a bar, or I can't go out with him. And so my girlfriend, Jackie, at the time told me, you need to call him. So I called him. And for 3 weeks, I put him off. I would not date him. I came up with every single excuse. And then one night after softball, he'd come to watch, and we'd gone to the sports page or something as a group. And I was feeling really guilty about how I treated him because he'd been nothing but a gentleman. So I called him when I got home at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I never called a guy. And I just said, hi, this is Val. I've been really unfair to you. And we talked until 6 o'clock in the morning. And then he said, well, now do you trust me enough to date me? And I'm like, absolutely. And we met on May 20th of 1982, or 83, May 20th of 1983, and we were married on July 1st. I'm getting my dates wrong. 1982, and we got married in 1983. So we will be celebrating 36 years on July 1st, and I am passionately in love with him. I'm just crazy about him. He has an incredible voice, incredibly gifted. The man went through midlife crisis a few years ago after our youngest daughter went off to school. And I said, with your gift, and I'm gone all the time, if you're going to have a midlife crisis, you need to hold something with curves and a neck. It better have strings on it. So I bought him his first guitar, and we now own 17 guitars. Several of them are Martins. I was noticing your Epiphone over there. And he's in a band. So he's playing with Steve Harmon, Dennis Rohr, and Spud Grumman, and having the time of his life. And I'm just so grateful. I am so grateful. So
What
I've
a
just been blessed.
Beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that, by the way.
Absolutely.
Gave me the goosebumps. She believed she could, so she did. Our tagline at Inspired Woman. How does that fit you? Val?
Gosh. Well, for me, in coming from North Dakota, to be recruited by an international public accounting firm and work for going from one to hundreds of thousands of employees with Deloitte and Touche was intimidating, and I wasn't sure how I would fit in because I wasn't an accountant, I didn't have a formal degree, but yet I had a unique background and professional experience that you can't get in school. And so after I'd been with Deloitte for about 5 or 6 years, they wanted to promote me to director partner level. And as they were going through the interview process, so it's almost like the Miss America pageant. They only take so many, and once they get down to the top 10, and if you have 15, somebody's going to get eliminated. And so my director really wanted me to hit that partner director level. And when they got to all of the application and saw that I did not have a 4-year degree, he pulled my application and said, Val, what's it going to take for you to get a degree? And I said, well, I finished 2 years as I was putting Wayne through graduate school and raising our children and working a full-time job. So I said, I did get my associate's degree through Bismarck State, but I don't have the other 2 years. And he says, well, we got to get it done. So through the good, kind people of Dickinson State University, and at that time online courses just got started, I was working full-time, running a national practice, on the road almost every week, and trying to earn my degree, and I finished it in 18 months.
Wow, Val.
And graduated magna cum laude, and I'm so proud of that. I'm proud to be because Dickinson worked so hard with me to make sure that all of my prior learning was included for those credits, but that didn't mean that it didn't take me mountains of time to get it all put together. And I had a super close friend. One of my best friends I have so many good friends. I'm so blessed. So I don't want to say I have a best friend because I just have so many, but she is a sister to me as well. And her name is Brenda from Dickinson. And so right before I graduated, I kept saying to Brenda, hell is going to freeze over before I get this degree. I'm not meant to do it. I wanted to quit so many times. And she just kept me going. Nope, we're not going to, you are going to do this. You're going to see this. You're going to walk across that stage one day. And so I went the day before our graduation, and she took me out for a pedicure and a manicure. And I woke up the next morning to put on my cap and gown, and there was snow on the ground. And that was in May.
Oh.
God has a humor. And I did. And I'm very proud of that. It took me years to get that degree, and I didn't get it the traditional way. But through and Wayne was very supportive and kept saying, Val, you don't need an A. You just need to pass. No, you don't understand. I need that A. I'm not going to do it just to pass.
Well, she believed she could, so she did. And that story tells me that First Choice Women's Care Center in the Bismarck community you're going to make this happen. You are going to make it be what, the mission that it is, but also the vision that you have for it. So thank you so much for sharing today.
Well, thank you, Marcy. And it's through the goodness of all of these people and our staff and our commitments. Nobody does it alone. We're not in that boat alone. And by the grace of God, to have great people and others who are committed to our mission, we are going to make it a reality, and we are very excited about it. Thank you for having me.
The Inspired Woman podcast is sponsored by Quantum Productions, the home of the award-winning director and cinematographer Nolan Johnson. He creates unique high-end video products throughout the Midwest. You can check him out at quantumprond.com.